So a treatment, if you have an opening in that diastasis, or if you have a subluxation where the toe's moving around, they can associated with compartment syndrome is one of the risks. So they suggest operative stabilization. They usually go in and fixate it. I'll show you what that looks like. Most common procedures are the screw fixation, or they put a plate in with screws, or they actually go a little bit further than that. So I'll show you what a screw looks like. This is what the fixation looks like for a screw. So there's the opening right here, and this is what it looks like after the opening. So they have 3 screws in there. There's 1, 2, no, 4, sorry. So one goes across this way, there, 3, and then 4, one going in the opposite direction. So it's a pretty substantial surgery. It's not small. It's not a small deal, even though it's a small ligament. It's pretty involved. This is a comparison of the different types of surgeries. So this would be the Lisfranc that I showed you just last slide. This is more of like a plate fixation with screws. So this would be more of like a more substantial type of injury, where it had to be, if you had a lot of subluxation, a lot of movement, they'd have to stabilize those other toes as well. This would be more of that crush injury I showed you, the first picture that looked terrible. This is more of like what it looks like after they fix it. So they have a plate in with multiple screws on each toe. All right, so obviously a much more involved surgery there. Some management, just to go quickly. They're in a boot, non-weight bearing, for about 6 weeks. They're not allowed to walk on it. The suture's removed at about 2-3 weeks, and then are placed in a different type of boot, like a walking boot, at 3 to 4 weeks, and they can start walking at 6 weeks. Transition to normal shoes at about 3 months. They can start riding the bike at about 4 weeks. They can start running technically at 12 weeks. Most of these people don't really want to run at 12 weeks. It usually takes a little bit longer, more like 16 weeks, but they're allowed to go around 12 weeks. They can start cutting and sprinting at 16 weeks. Usually a little bit longer than that, and then gradual return to sport-specific activities. If they're cutting, sprinting, you can incorporate, their sport drills and stuff like that at that point too. So it's not a protracted rehabilitation period, but it's also not really short, a couple weeks either. So it's definitely a 3 to 4 month healing time before they can really start getting back to their sport stuff. So for the ORAF, where they actually put the plates in as well, they're removed at 4 to 6 months post-operatively, and then after that, they're allowed to start doing sport-specific activities at 6 to 8 weeks after that. So the plates where they put the plates in is a much more involved surgery, because those plates come out, they don't stay in. So it's a season-ending injury for them. This is not really that important, but we found a couple studies, Greg and I, when we did this presentation, that we found, the study found that people with these types of injuries have much weakened dorsiflexors. So in other words, bringing their foot up is weaker when compared to the other side, and it stays weak for a prolonged period of time after their rehabilitation as well. So it's something that we would need to address early on and really have them start strengthening those muscles right away, or else the longer you let it go, the weaker they get, and they stay weak for a long time, which is going to impact their performance, obviously. So this is what we concluded, basically. This is what the study concluded, that up and down strengthening with a band, can't do body weight obviously right away, but band work, ankle work is really important early on, just to maintain the tone in those muscles and to maintain their strength. We also found studies that talk about their gait patterns are very altered after this type of surgery, because they're not going to want to plant the inside of their arch down on the floor as they walk. So you're going to find that if you have anybody that has a surgery, they're probably going to walk a little funny. They're probably going to walk on the outside of their foot. They're not going to want to walk on the flat part of their foot. So this is something that we want to encourage too, as performance trainers and clinicians, that we want to normalize their gait right away. You want to get it as normal as possible, as fast as possible. Otherwise, they're going to start having hip, knee, ankle problems. So this is something that we need to encourage right away.